What is up, you guys? My name is Breyonna, and today we are going to be doing something a little bit different on my channel, and I haven't done this in a really long time, but I always have so much fun filming these videos. But what we are going to be doing is comparing the e.l.f. Cosmetics Bite Size Hot Jalapeno eyeshadow palette to some of my absolute favorite eyeshadow palettes in my collection, and that is the Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette and the 420 palette. So with this video, we are going to be doing a side-by-side comparison. So on one side of my face, I have the e.l.f. palette, and on the other, I use the two Melt Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes. And later on in this video, I will be doing some swatches of the shades side by side, but before we jump into it, let me know which side you think is the e.l.f. palette and which side you think is the Melt Cosmetics ones. I'll get up close and personal so you guys can see the details a little bit more, but this is my left side, and then here is my right side. I'm honestly a little nosy to see what you guys think, but before we jump into it, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and also give this video a like. And if you'd like to check me out over on my Instagram page, it is @BreyonnaFaye. So the first thing that we are going to be doing is priming our eyelids, and I'm just going to be using my favorite, which is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Eye Primer. So the last time that I made an e.l.f. Cosmetics order, I was going through their website, like going through their products, just kind of seeing what is up and maybe, like seeing what I should try out on my channel. But I stumbled on this absolutely stunning little bite-sized eyeshadow palette called Hot Jalapeno. And if you guys know me, like these types of colors are totally my thing. Like I love dark green smoky eyes, like they're one of my favorites. But once I got this palette in person, I was like, girl, this really reminds me of my Melt palettes. And then I put them side by side, and it kind of reminds me of both the Gemini palette and the 420 palette. And these palettes right here are $58 each. Like they are a pretty penny, whereas this baby right here is only $3. And the reason that I'm using two of the Melt palettes is two of the shades are really similar in one palette, and then the other palette has the other two shades in it. So I was like, you know what, let's just roll with it. Normally I only do like one palette, but I was like, you know what, they're really expensive, so why not? So the first shade that we are going to be going in with out of the Hot Jalapeno palette is this kind of like brighter green matte shade. And then using this Sigma E35 tapered blending brush, I'm just going to be applying this shade right into my crease. And then after it's applied, I'm just going to start doing these little circular motions to blend that upwards towards my brow. I mean, she's cute, but it is definitely looking a little bit more on the sheer side. So I'm going to start building up this shadow because, again, we are going to be doing something really dark and smoky today. Ooh, it is building up really nice. I gotta say, like, I've tried out two other e.l.f. palettes recently, and let me tell you, like, the quality of their eyeshadows has been really good. So I'm super curious to see how this one compares, because the other palettes, they were, like, the bigger palettes, whereas this one's a lot smaller. I assume that they'd be the same formula, though, but again, we haven't tried all the shades yet. So far, though, I'm actually really impressed with this shadow. It looks really nice in the eyes, and it looks super nice and smooth. I will say, though, it definitely is more of a buildable formula, so if you're not into that, you might not like this shade. And then for the Melt side, we are going to be dipping into the Gemini palette, and I'm going to go in with this deeper green matte shade called Leo. And then using a different Sigma E35 tapered blending brush, I'm going to be popping this right into my crease again. But I'm just going to warn you, this is the shade I had the hardest time finding a match to, because the Melt palettes, they have kind of like this yellowy undertone to them, whereas this one almost has like a little bit more blue to it. I'm just going to start building up this color and also using it to round out my outer V. But you can kind of see the more that I build up this Melt one, that it just has like that yellowy kind of like olivey look to it, whereas the other side has like that bluish kind of like green. So the next shade that we are going to be going in with out of the e.l.f. palette is this beautiful, like deep and bluish green shade. Now this shade is the one that I am probably the most curious about, just because a lot of times these deeper colors can really be hard to work with. And I'm just taking it on this Sigma E45 tapered blending brush. And I'm initially going to be applying it into my crease to help deepen it up. I'm also using it to round out my outer V. Ooh, she's definitely deepening things up, but I'm just going to go in with a little bit more because I'm kind of curious to see what happens when we build it up. Okay, but like this shade is building up beautifully, and also like look how nice it is blending out. Man, like this is such a gorgeous shade. I wonder why I don't see more people talk about this palette, because honestly, like the formula so far has been really good. So once you have that applied, now we're going to go in with the Melt side, and this time around we are going to be going in with the 420 palette, and we're going to be going in with this kind of like bluish shade called Chronic. And then going in with a different Sigma E45 tapered blending brush, I'm just going to be applying that again into my crease. And then also kind of like doing these little tiny circular motions to blend that into that shade before. I kind of forgot how pigmented that shade is, but I'm just going to start building it up ever so slightly as well. Because again, I do want a lot of definition in this crease. But ooh, like they're so pretty. I don't know about you guys, but like these types of colors, like I could wear them every single day with no problem. You know, this deeper shade that we're using right now, like the formula is honestly really similar between the two palettes. Like I'm a little shook right now because even that e.l.f. side, it was really, really pigmented. And also blended out really nice as well. So now we're going to start working on the lid, and I was going to do a cut crease, but I kind of want to do something a little bit on the softer side today. But I'm going to go in with this shimmery green shade in the palette. And then using the Sigma E55, I'm just going to be applying it to the outer half of my lid. Ooh, like that is such a cool shimmer though. Do you guys see how metallic that is? And I'm also using it dampened on this brush. But like, wow, like that is like a really stunning shade. But like in person, it has like this beautiful wet metallic sheen to it. And again though, like this palette is only $3. Like this shimmer is insane for that. And then I'm just gonna go in with that brush that we applied that deeper kind of like greeny blue with. And I'm just kind of like finessing the edges of this shimmer, just to make sure we don't have any harsh lines. And I'm also kind of like packing whatever's left on my brush in this outer third. So now we're going to dip back into Gemini, and we're going to go in with that shimmery green in the palette called Goals. And then using a different Sigma E55 dampened, I'm just going to be applying it in that outer half of the lid. And then again, when I'm applying this shade, I'm kind of going above my crease just a little bit because my eyes are naturally slightly hooded. This will help kind of open them up a little bit. You know, after applying that melt shimmer and kind of like fluffing it out a little bit, like to me they almost look near identical with the color. But the thing though is like this melt side, like it just has way more dimension to it. Like you can see the significant difference when I close my eyes. Like I mean, like the e.l.f. side, she's cute, but this side, oh, like it's on a whole other level. So I'm just going to take a little bit more of Chronic out of the 420 palette on that Sigma E45 that we applied it with. And I'm just kind of like fluffing out the edges of this shimmer just to make sure it's all nice and blended. And I'm also going to kind of like pack it on in this outer third. And then lastly, we are going to be going in with the gold shimmer in the palette. And I'm just going to be applying it using this Sigma F70 brush dampened. And oh my gosh, like that has so much dimension to it. Like I am honestly shook. Look how beautiful that is. I was not expecting that at all. To me, this one has a lot more dimension than that green that we just used. And I'm also like slightly bringing it up into my crease again because your girl, she got some hooded eyes. And this just helps to kind of like open them up a little bit. You know, I want to do a second layer and see if it can kind of compare to this melt side. But oh my gosh, like that is such a gorgeous and underrated color. Like I don't know if you guys can see it, but in person it's like this beautiful gold with like this olive undertone to it. So once you have that applied, now we're going to dip back into the 420 palette, and I'm just going to go in with the only shimmer in the palette called Shatter. And using this Makeup of the Day under the covers brush, I'm going to be applying it to the center half of the lid. Ooh, this one is definitely a little bit more of like an orangey gold. I thought it was going to be a little bit more on the lime side. And then I'm also going to slightly overlap it with that green. I gotta say in some ways the e.l.f. one applied a lot better. And it had like that pout in your face pigmentation right away. Whereas this one you have to kind of build up a little bit. And I'm just going to do another layer. See if we can kind of like finesse it a little bit more. So here's where I'm at right now with the look. And I gotta say, you know, going into this, I was assuming them to be a little bit more similar than they are right now. But again, I think that they're both really gorgeous palettes. But off camera though, I'm just going to quickly clean things up a little bit. I'm going to apply my complexion products as well as some liner and some lashes. And then I'll be right back to finish up the look. So here's where I'm at right now after applying my complexion products. And now we're going to start working on the lower lash line. And I'm first going to go in with this lightest matte shade that we used earlier. And then using this Profusion ES6 brush, I'm just going to be smoking this right underneath my lower lash line. And when I'm applying it, I'm just doing back and forth motions. And then for the melt side, I'm just going to go back into that Leo shade out of the Gemini palette. And then to apply Leo, I'm just going to be using this Anastasia A14 little pencil brush. So once you have that lower lash line all nice and smoky, now we're going to be doing my absolute favorite part, which is the inner corner highlight. And I mean, you could go in with the gold shade out of the palettes, but honestly, I want something a little bit brighter and a little bit different. So instead, I'm actually going to be going in with my highlighter today. And this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sugar Glow Kit, and we're going to be going in with Marshmallow. And then using this little tiny Moda brush, this pencil brush, I'm just going to be packing Marshmallow right in that inner corner. Like, I am really packing it in there because I want it super bright and blinding. And I'm also slightly bringing it underneath the inner tear duct area to open up the eye. Oh yeah, like that is exactly what I was looking for. Like, it looks so cool. Like, it just has like this little hint of yellow to it, but at the same time it has like a little bit of iciness. It's a really awesome shade. And then I'm just going to be doing the exact same thing on the melt side with the exact same brush. So here's the finished look comparing the e.l.f. Cosmetics Bite Size Hot Jalapeno Eyeshadow Palette to my Melt Cosmetics Gemini and 420 palettes. And I gotta say, at the end of the day, I feel like they look kind of similar in some ways, and in others I do see a little bit of a difference. You know, like the e.l.f. side, it has like a little bit more of like a bluish green tinge to it, whereas the Melt side has like that olive, kind of like yellowy undertone. I gotta say though, for $3, I'm honestly shook as to how nice this e.l.f. palette is. I mean, the shadows in here are super pigmented, very easy to work with, and the shimmers in here look gorgeous on the eyes. Literally, I had no problems with any of the shades out of this palette, and in some ways, they actually kind of compare to my Melt palettes. I will say the Melt formula is a little bit more pigmented and a little bit more buttery, and the shimmers do have a little bit more dimension to them, but still, even with that, I think they're really comparable with the quality. So when we start comparing the two, you can see on this e.l.f. side, like the mattes, they have a really nice pigmentation to them. They look really nice and smooth on the eyes. Literally, they have given me no harsh lines or any issues. And the shimmers, they just have a beautiful, like, wet sheen with the formula. They look really gorgeous. Now, when we look at the Melt side, you can see, like, the mattes, they have that really nice pigmentation to them, and they look really smooth on the eyes. But again, the Melt shadows, when we are applying them, they have a little bit more richness right away, and they also don't have to be built up as much. And the shimmers, you can see, they just have a little bit more dimension. So they have a little bit more sparkliness, and they also just have a little bit more variation to them. But you know, after trying out the e.l.f. palette, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a dupe for the Melt Cosmetics palette, but I will say it definitely has a very similar vibe, and the quality of it is really comparable, especially the mattes. Like, the mattes in here are by far my favorite, and as well as this kind of like goldish shimmer shade, I really like that one too. So if you're wanting to try out these types of colors, but you don't want the price tag of the Melt palettes, because again, they are $58 a piece, like they are definitely up there, and I totally understand when people don't want to get them because of it. But if you want something very comparable and you just don't want to invest a lot of money into it, I feel like you would absolutely love this palette. I'm just gonna keep it real, like this palette is literally a steal. Like, the quality is a lot better than a lot of my other high-end palettes. So if you're wanting to experiment with these types of colors, I definitely cannot recommend this one enough. So I'm just gonna insert the comparison swatches for you guys right here. So before we do some swatches, I do want to share with you guys what the palettes look like up next to each other. And this is the Gemini palette. And then this is what it looks like up next to the 420 palette. So here is the darkest shade out of the Hot Jalapeno palette, and then this is Chronic out of the 420 palette. And then this one is out of the Hot Jalapeno palette, and then here is Chronic from 420. So here is Leo out of the Gemini palette, and then the lightest matte shade out of Hot Jalapeno. I just realized I put them on the wrong finger, but this is the lightest shade out of Hot Jalapeno, and then here is Leo out of Gemini. So here is the green shimmer out of the Hot Jalapeno palette, and then here is Goals out of the Gemini palette. Green shimmer out of Hot Jalapeno, and then Goals out of the Gemini palette. So here's the gold shimmer out of the Hot Jalapeno palette, and then here is Shatter out of the 420 palette. The gold out of Hot Jalapeno, Shatter out of the 420 palette. But in the comments down below, let me know what you think about both sides. Which side do you like better? Which one do you think is worth it? I would love to hear what you think about it. But as always though, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and also give this video a like. And if you'd like to check me out over on my Instagram page, it is @Breyonna. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!